Just because you have wards doesn't mean you have vision. Take this ward for example. If the enemy jungler comes to gank you directly from river, that side specifically, then yes, good enough. Until he realizes he could just do this. Getting good vision is not a simple skill to learn, it's almost a science. And so I had to do a lot of research for this video, and with research I mean reading books worth of guides and hours worth of videos to condense it all into just a few minutes for you. Unfortunately, most of my experience and research mostly applies to mid lane, though most of the principles I'll be talking about probably apply to other lanes as well. First off, good vision always comes as a result of good jungle tracking. So your first step towards placing a good ward is knowing where the enemy jungler started their clear. Say for some rare occasions like Fiddlestick starting on Raptors, you can easily know where they started by just seeing which of the enemy lanes is late to their lane, because it usually means that they leashed. It's a good rule of thumb to follow, though it won't work all the time. If the enemy jungler started bot, where they very often do, especially in lower ranks, they'll be pathing towards the top lane, either to get the Scuttle Crab in river or to gank top or mid. Where are we going with this? Well, if you have a rough idea of where the jungler is, then you can place a ward towards that side. Shoving the third wave under the enemy turret gives you enough time to leave lane and place a strong ward, such as right here at the Raptors. This ward not only gives you an early warning of a possible gank, but it also lets you perfectly see one of their jungle entrances and even reaches far enough to see if they're going for the red buff from the mid lane. But my favorite one is a little safer. You just walk into river and place it right here. This ward is as good as the ones in the long bush, but will warn you of the jungler coming not only through the river, but also through this little path as well. Make sure to place it exactly like this, so that its vision reaches far enough to prevent the jungler from simply dashing into the river bush like this. If your concern is not so much the bush itself, but the river and the jungle entrances, warding the pixel bush is also a good idea. Placing it just at the edge like this will be enough to give you vision of the river and both jungle entrances. This is also a godsend for your jungler if they are interested in the Scuttle Crab. Warding the enemy jungle camps is also a good idea. Doubly so if you're facing something like Evelynn, Shaco or Twitch. They can't be invisible while clearing the camp, so the ward will reveal them to your entire team. Not only will it prevent many frustrating ganks, but it can also help your jungler with precious information. When it comes to weaker early game junglers like Evelynn or Twitch, or even the non-invisible ones like Bel'Veth, invading is usually a good strategy to prevent them from getting too strong too early. Letting your jungler see where they are in their jungle will help them with the information they need for an effective invade. Another thing you need to concern yourself with is junglers with less orthodox means of coming to your lane, like Zac or Kayn, who don't care too much about walls. In those cases, deep wards should be useful, like the one in Pixel Bush, Raptors, and, if you're in the side lane, warding your Tri-Bush on this side is usually a good idea. I know, because when I play Kayn, this is where I like to path for a gank. However, wards are only as good as the information they provide. You also have to act upon that information. If you know where the enemy jungler is, then that should affect the way you position, the way you trade in lane, and the side where you lean towards. For example, if you know they're nearby, then you'll be more conservative, less committal trades, and if you have a rough idea of where they are, it helps a lot to ward and lean towards the opposite side in the lane. That way, it'll be much harder to gank, even for the more mobile junglers. Now, to address the elephant in the room. How the f do you use control wards? They seem like something nebulous, an arcane piece of knowledge that only high elo players know about that we mere mortals can never get right. But it's actually pretty simple. You base with a free inventory slot and 75 gold left, buy a control ward, stick a note on your monitor to remind you if necessary. Okay, but where do I place it? Simple. A stealth ward is more expendable, so we can place it deeper into enemy territory to get better information. With a control ward, it's ideal to place it in a position that you can realistically defend, which is usually right at the limit of the piece of the map that you can walk to without putting yourself at massive risk. Not only will that ward constantly provide you vision for as long as you can protect it, but will also deny vision for the enemy team so that your jungler has an easier time walking around without being seen. This type of ward is more defensive, acting as counterintelligence, while this one may be riskier, but will help your jungler in case they want to gank or invade. But if you want to get really good vision, having control over the wave to grant yourself lane priority is extremely important, both to give you time to place those deeper wards, and to protect the ones that you already have. You know who's the perfect laner to do that? Azir is. This video goes through the why and how, so why don't you give it a go? Hope to see you there, and thank you for watching. Cheers!